boys, welcome to this week's Friday Waffle, and for a change it's coming to you, it's been recorded on a Friday, and hopefully I'll get it out tonight, which is hopefully going to be Friday. So yeah, how are you? Absolutely wonderful, delighted it's the weekend, pretty much because I get up pretty early in the morning, and in the last couple of weeks it's pitch dark, absolutely pitch dark. And the annoying thing for me is, you have the alarm set. I mean, my alarm goes off at 6:30, but you wake up and you've got no idea what time it is. It could be 6:30, it could be 3 o'clock in the morning. You've really got no idea what time it is. And when eventually the alarm goes off, it literally feels like the middle of the night. So I am kind of struggling in that aspect. I don't mind the driving to work. It's just the actual getting out of bed. It's a physical getting up and getting out of bed. That's doesn't get any easier at all. So yeah, I'm good. Weather wise, it's shite. It's not that cold. It's not that cold tonight, but it's wet. It's a bit windy, and it's miserable. But apart from that, I've had not a bad week. What have I been doing? It was my birthday on Monday, 53. Bloody hell. How did that happen? I cannot for the life of me figure out how I got to 53 years old. And it is so true. My mum and dad used to say to me, the older you get, the quicker time flies, and you never ever feel your age. And it's so true. I mean, I think for me as a kid, when you're like 5 or 6 years old, you can't wait for birthdays, you can't wait for Christmases, because that was the only time we got given anything, back in the 70s. Not nowadays. Nowadays they get all the time. So, you were counting the days to your birthday, when the catalogue came along, you already had everyone picked out what you wanted. But, I think it was when I kind of got to when I got to about 30 years old, my life just accelerated. And it's quite funny because obviously there's, I know you lot do, people take the piss out of you for being that old. And you know what, we're all going to get there. And I heard a quote saying that getting old is better than the alternative. So just think about that next time you're going to take the piss out of me. But yeah, that's what I've been doing this week. My birthday on Monday, so my girlfriend came through and I saw my daughter as well, which was really nice. What was I going to say? Yeah, that was my birthday. Tuesday, didn't do a great deal. Wednesday, I was through at my girlfriend's, because I usually see her on a Wednesday. Thursday, last night, one of my mates came up, social distancing, keeping their distance obviously. Haven't seen him for about 6 months. In fact, the last time I saw him was it was just at the start of the lockdown, and we used to see each other, pretty much every week. And the sad thing is, although we weren't seeing each other, we'd basically stopped communicating, and that's quite sad. It's quite sad, and the only reason we got back in touch was because he contacted me on Facebook just to wish me a happy birthday. And he said that he was conscious that we hadn't spoke for such a long time, and he hoped that everything was still cool between us. And that's one of the sad things about this whole isolation COVID-19 thing. Apart from the sort of risk, to your health, and obviously the whole virus itself is a horrible thing, but it's the damage that's been caused to society, to friendships, to relationships, because of this whole thing. And I remember when it first started, I was in that real shit job, started at the beginning of March, and that real crap job, and when we heard about there was restrictions and a lockdown and all that, it was almost like a novelty, and you couldn't really figure out that this was for real. And I think most people, myself included, thought that it was going to run for maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a month, 2 months, that's it. And we never ever in a million years thought that, end of some, 6 months on, 7 months on actually, we're still going to be in it. And I really don't see anything changing for the next, 6 months. I think until they get a cure, get a vaccine, I don't see anything changing. It's going to make for an interesting Christmas for a lot of people. Because I can't live in one now, it's not going to affect me a great deal. But, families who get together, lots of people, it's going to affect things. But you know what, Christmas is only one day, and I think that's the thing, we've still got to, it's not a big deal wearing a mask. We want to get rid of this thing, and until everybody starts kind of toeing the line. I was at my work today, and there was a family were moving stuff in. Now technically they're not supposed to have any more than like one household, and there was 2 young guys carrying furniture up the stairs, and they're like, didn't have a mask on. I'm like, oi, where's your mask? You need to get out and get that on. So there's still people, they don't really seem to care. I don't know whether it's intentional, although I have seen a few videos on Facebook of people kicking off because they've been asked to wear a mask. Really, what is the alternative? Dying? All your organs fail when you die? You lose your mum, you lose your dad, whatever? But anyway, enough about the virus. I've been playing my new MAME cab quite a bit, really enjoying it. Performance wise, it's virtually identical to my original cab, which I'm still going to keep because it's got the 2 joysticks and I love it to bits. But the fact that you've got to you're standing at the right height, it just feels so much more authentic. It really does. It really feels like you're playing an actual arcade game. The front end that came in it, I can't even remember what it was called. It was pretty pants, to be honest with you. It was really kind of garish colours, and there weren't that many games. There was only like 2,000 games, but a lot of my favourites weren't on it. So what I've done is I've left that version on, but I've put a new version of MAME on, and I've put, it's a Maximus Arcade as the front end. I'm going to do a MAME Meister look at off the unit, because it's excellent. It really is good. So I'm enjoying playing that. I've not played anything else. I've not had my PlayStation 4 on, I don't know, for maybe a month. I've just not really been playing any games at all apart from arcade games, and I don't really see that changing at all. So anyway, listen, this is going to be a fairly short one because I don't have a hell of a lot to talk about. Oh, listen, before I forget, I want to make a special shout out. There's a guy you probably know, Wee Bob. He's one of my regulars on my channel. I've met Bob before. He's an excellent guy, another fellow Scot, top bloke, and he also happens to be bloody good at drawing. He does on his YouTube channel. He does various drawings. I think he uses some sort of software package on his PC, laptop, whatever. But I was super impressed with what he's been doing, so I contacted him. Now, here's the thing you probably don't know, I'm a massive Elvis Presley fan. I don't sit and listen to Elvis music. I do like Elvis music, but I just think he's one of my heroes. Bruce Lee, Muhammad Ali, Elvis. Elvis was one of these guys. He was larger than life. I just think he had an amazing life. Yeah, he died way too young, but I just think he was an amazing person. And it's like the old cliche, if you ever had a dinner party and you could invite anybody around it, who would you invite, dead or alive? Elvis would be one of mine. I just think I just think he's amazing. He done incredibly well. He was appreciated by everybody in the world. He was just this enigma. He was an amazing guy. So anyway, I contacted Bob and I said, look, do you do any commissions? Would you do something? He says, yeah, let me know what you want. So I sent him a photograph of Elvis, and Bob has done a piece of artwork for me. And what he's done is he printed it onto canvas, and basically he wouldn't take any money for it. I tried to persuade him to let me pay for it, and he was adamant that he wasn't going to charge me anything. He said to me it was a birthday present. So what can I say? So anyway, I'm going to let you see it. This is just absolutely epic. Hopefully you can see it. There we go. How cool. I'm going to go back a wee bit so you can actually see it. How cool is that? That is just absolutely epic. Now what he's done is, he's put obviously Elvis Presley in, that's what I was asking him to do, but he's also managed, if you look down at the bottom, the little yellow thing, he's also managed to put in my logo, the little Berserk character. And what he's done is, he said to me that because I've come through quite a lot in the last probably year with a job, etc. He's put clouds and sunshine, because that is like telling a story of how I kind of went through a rough period, but I've managed to come out the other side. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. It really is. So this is going to get pride of place in my my games room. So I can't, you know what, Bob, I cannot thank you enough for doing this. It's so kind of you, and I'm absolutely over the moon with it. I think it's absolutely epic. Yeah, superb. Absolutely amazing. Very, very lucky to have that. So yeah, thank you very much, Bob. So right, listen, what I've done is, rather than, I've not really got any my own subjects to talk about, what I've done is I did ask a while back if people can go to Discord. I created a little kind of channel called Future Friday Waffle Topics, and quite a few people have put various topics for me to talk about. Now Del Boy did go a bit mental with it, so I've got quite a few here from Del, so I'm just going to run through them. I'll see how I get on. I mean, I don't know how long has this been going for, 11 minutes. I'll probably go for half an hour anyway, see how we get on with it. So Del Boy's asking, printers, accessories for 8-bit micros, did your family buy any for your homework, and how often were they used? Well, as I've mentioned before, Del, my family bought me nothing, because I was working. I was 18 years old, I had a full-time job, and I tell a lie, I got my C64 when I was 16, but I had a part-time job, and I bought my C64 myself. I think it was, something tells me it was like £12, was it a month I paid? It was something ridiculous like that. It was like £12 or £15 a month I used to pay. It was like hire purchase. So I bought my C64 myself. All the games, there was nothing. My mum and dad, I can categorically say, other than the very first computer that they bought me, which was a Texas TI 19948, I bought everything else myself. My mate Grant used to buy me a game for Christmas, but everything else was bought myself. So yeah, the homework thing didn't cut it, because I paid for it myself. What accessories did I have for the C64? I had a printer, I think it was a Citizen printer. I had the disc drive. I also had a number of joysticks. I had the CompuNet, which was a kind of modem for the CompuNet service. I had a not a flash drive, what do you call it? A freeze frame cartridge, which basically allowed you to load a game into memory, press the button, and then you could save basically it's a snapshot. You could save the snapshot onto a disc, and it would really cleverly, you could have like 5 or 6 games on a disc, and they were all like mega quick loading. It put a wee kind of turbo loader menu. I think that was about it. Yeah, I think that was probably it. The Amiga had the same thing. I did get a Commodore monitor for the Amiga. I had the printer. Did I ever get an upgrade in memory? No, I didn't. I don't think I did. I had the Amiga 1200, sorry, A500, and then eventually got an Amiga 1200. I think that was it. Yeah, that was pretty much it. But like I said, I bought everything myself, Del, so I never, like I says, the homework thing wasn't an issue for me. Reasons you bought a game: discuss reviews, word of mouth, music, graphics, advertising. In the early days, before BZ, before Zap, I mean, in the early days, I had the C64, my mate had the Spectrum, and that was kind of it. There was only really, I had other mates, but they weren't really into computers. So, I never really bought a game because a mate had it, because he had the Spectrum, and a lot of times the games were different. It was usually, back in the early days before Zap, I would go up to the computer shop, up to Ray's computer shop, and out of my money, you know, I think it was £12.50 a week I used to earn. It was a little pay packet, a little brown envelope. Got that on a Friday. No, I got it on a Saturday, and then I would zip up to. Or when did I get that? I can't remember. I can't remember what day. It might have been a Thursday actually. Something's niggling me. It was a Thursday. I would after I finished work, I would run up my moped up to Ray's computer shop. I used to finish work at 5. Yes, it must have been, this was a Saturday. I'd finish work at 5. Ray's computer shop shut at 5:30. But depending on how busy it was, sometimes you'd get up there at 5:20 and it would be shut, and I was always gutted because, you know, I couldn't wait to spend my money. So yeah, in the early days I'd go up to Ray's computer shop, and it was quite literally just lifting things off the shelf, looking at the title, you know, reading about it. I mean, that's how I bought Beachhead. I didn't read any reviews of Beachhead because I bought it before it ever got reviewed. And I just looked at the back and I thought, that looks amazing. It was like US Gold. I thought, oh, that sounds really good. No, that wasn't US Gold actually. That was before. I was buying games from America before US Gold came along. Was that not Acclaim? I can't remember what it was. Doesn't matter. Access software. That's what it was called. So yeah, it was basically looking at the artwork on the box, which, as we know, is not at all representative of how crap a game was or how good it was. But then when Zap came along, that was the Bible. You know, if Zap gave a game a poor review, I definitely wouldn't buy it. Conversely, if they gave it a good review, I would think about buying it. Not every game. I mean, there were some games that they reviewed that I didn't have any interest in. But yeah, Zap magazine was definitely it. Again, word of mouth, not really, because it was only my mate Grant, you know. Yeah, and music, I mean, I suppose sometimes you'd go up to, again, this is the early days, you'd go up to like John Menzies and they'd have a game running, and you know, I remember seeing Ghostbusters and I thought this was amazing. You know, they had the music and obviously the speech as well, and I bought that game because it just looked and sounded amazing. Advertising, I can't say that I've really bought a game based on advertising. No, it was usually a preview or a review. And sometimes, like in the case of Jeff Minter, you would buy a game, or Sean Southern, you'd buy a game because of who programmed it. Because you knew it was like a seal of quality. You knew if you bought a Sean Southern game or a Jeff Minter game, you knew it was going to be good, apart from Mama Llama. But anyway, we'll move swiftly on. So yeah, big boxes, small boxes for games. Did it annoy you the different sizes, and what did you prefer? Again, back in the sort of 8-bit era, there weren't really. It was all just the small cassettes. You had the slightly bigger sort of like black plastic kind of cases, like Yer Kung Fu and all the Imagine games. They all came in these bigger ones, but most of them were just the little, you know, the small kind of crystal boxes. I don't recall, apart from Elite, and I'm not going to go and get it because I've showed it off that many times. Elite came in quite a big box. You know, it's probably the size of a paperback book, but it was obviously a lot thicker. But I don't recall, other than that game, I don't recall really any other 8-bit games that came in big boxes. It was really with when the Amiga came along, the 16-bit machines came along, for some stupid reason. Well, I suppose, yeah, it was discs, it was floppy discs, so you couldn't really put that in a cassette box. But yeah, when the 16-bit came along, that's when the boxes seemed to get bigger. And then I think when the PC became a thing as well, they seemed to get massive. I mean, some of the boxes were just huge. I wasn't really a fan of the big boxes. I mean, you bought it because the game, you know, whether the game was good or not. But yeah, I mean, going back to the 8-bit ones, I mean, I always preferred small games. I would prefer it actually if they all were all the same size, because then you could kind of line them up and they look all, you know, look really nice and tidy. A retro gaming hoarders. I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, absolutely. I'm not a collector, I'm a hoarder. And I've been, I've been buying stuff. I don't know, I'm trying to think. I've been buying real computers probably since, I would probably say since about 2007, maybe 2005, 2006, something like that. So I've been buying stuff for best part of 15 years. And I mean, I've collected an absolutely massive amount of stuff. And I have to say, I mean, other than the first couple of machines I got for free, I've never been given anything. I've always had to buy stuff. I bought stuff on eBay, and I used to buy a lot of stuff on Gumtree. I mean, now prices are just silly, but you know, in the early days, they were a lot more affordable, and you would get people. I mean, I remember it was an Atari 800, the big massive Atari 800. I got that, and when it arrived, and I didn't know this, I can't remember how much I paid. Was it £90 or something? Might have been about £90-100. And it was for the Atari 800, and that was all I thought I was getting. And when this package arrived, I was just blown away. There was Atari 800, there was Atari 400, there was, I think there might have been 2 disk drives, there were two or three tape decks, there was discs, there was tapes, there was magazines, you name it. It was a massive box. Excuse me. And it was just amazing going through that, opening this box and just picking out all this stuff. It was really nice. That was excellent. So over the last sort of 15 years, I've picked up all manner of stuff, and to the point that when I moved into this house, I mean, well, when we were selling the last house, when I was moving away, it actually terrified me how much stuff I had. I mean, on top of all the stuff that I had in my games room, I had boxes and boxes of stuff up in the loft, and it was just frightening how much stuff I had. And then when I moved in here, I've kind of managed to set up most of the machines so I can kind of play them, but I do have a shelf in the games room, not in the games room, in the cupboard, with about another, 15 systems. But I had about, I don't know how many cases, maybe about 15-20 cases rammed full of computer games and God knows what, all computer game related. So over the last probably 6 months, especially in the last month actually, I've been selling off a lot of stuff. I've not been selling off anything that I want to keep. The stuff that I've been getting rid of has basically been stuff that I just never use. And to be fair, that is pretty much what paid for my new MAME cap. I've just been recycling what I've had and getting money for it, and then putting it towards this MAME cap. So yeah, to answer your question, Dale, a retro gamer enthusiast, hoarders, in the case of me, 100%. Ox is asking here, how about things that we associate with times of our retro gaming past? Friends, fashion, decor, technology, music, TV, movies, politics, world events, fads and hobbies, news stories, all these things back in the day were quite different to today and were there alongside our original gaming experience. Absolutely, Ox. I mean, obviously for myself and a lot of people, it all really started, I'm not going to talk about the early days like the late 70s, but for me, when I got my first computer, sort of 83, 84, we were in the middle of, I think we're in the middle of a recession, to be honest. But when you're 16, 17-year-old, you're not interested in politics. I mean, I remember like the miners' strike was a thing. Margaret Thatcher, she was universally hated when she introduced the poll tax into Scotland. I can always remember leaving my work, my part-time job, and there were all these miners were outside, and they weren't begging, you know, they were on this massive strike, and I used to give them money, you know, that was a big thing. Another thing that really kind of, it goes side by side when I think about like the 80s and computer games, was the Cold War that was going on. You know, you had Gorbachev, you had Ronald Reagan, and there was a real sense of fear. I mean, you had all your Protect and Survive adverts. not adverts, say public information films, all basically designed to keep you safe in the event of a nuclear war. And these things were actually getting shown in TV. And if you're a certain age, I mean, you know, you're probably going to think, what was the big deal? It was a big deal because we knew what a nuclear war was. We'd all seen images of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We knew how terrifying it was. And in the news, there was films, like there was Threads. If you've never seen Threads, I suggest you watch it. It was basically a film made by the BBC, and it was based on a nuclear bomb falling on Sheffield. I'm actually getting goosebumps just talking about it. A nuclear bomb falling in Sheffield, and it was actually banned because it was too scary. It was too graphic, but it's a film I think everybody should watch. It'll just give you a flavour of just how terrifyingly real that was back in the 80s. So yeah, you had the whole Cold War. Music, I mean, I wasn't really into my rock and roll. I wasn't really into my heavy metal at that point. It was more, 80s. I loved Depeche Mode. I loved Howard Jones. I did like Marillion. I mean, they're kind of more soft rock. Magnum. What else? Gary Newman. Oh, just lots and lots of bands. Associates. The Rosillos, the Ravillos. Tons and tons of music. And although I wasn't into it, it just makes me think of the 80s so much. Stuff like Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Your Relax, Two Tribes, again, that was like fed off the whole fear of nuclear war. So the whole 80s music thing, that was massive. Fashion, I was never really cutting edge fashion. I know you find that hard to believe, but I was never really into fashion. But yeah, I mean, I had the big mullet, and then later on I had a moustache and a mullet. Technology, let me think. I had my big music centre, which was it was a record deck, and I had the tape, and I had I didn't have a CD at that point. That was way further on. TV, funny, people, when I'm talking to people, they'll talk about the X-Files and V, and I'm thinking, I never watched any of these. I actually didn't watch very much TV. I think when I was kind of growing up, I was more into my computer. So when I got my computer, I mean, it did become probably quite an unhealthy hobby for a while. I mean, I was still going out with my mates and things, but I didn't really watch a lot of TV back in the 80s. I mean, I loved watching athletics with my dad. That was a favourite thing. Would sit and watch Steve Cram, Sebastian Coe, Steve Ovett, racing. They had the Dream Mile and all that kind of thing. I loved watching athletics. Also loved watching darts. Jockey Wilson, Eric Bristow, John Lowe, Bobby George, Mike Gregory, all these guys, Leighton Reese, all the classics. I was going to say all the real kind of originals, and then obviously snooker as well. Loved watching snooker. We had Alec Higgins and John Virgo and dearie me, what was it? Eddie Thorburn. Eddie Thorburn, was it? I think I can't remember. Well, there was Cliff Thorburn, Eddie Charlton. That's it. Yeah, he was an Australian guy. Bill Werbenick, who used to drink about 25 pints to play a game of snooker. Then of course you had the classic Steve Davis and Dennis Taylor final. I think it was 1985. That finished on the black, and that was a massive part. Politics I've already mentioned. World events, again, you think back to the 80s, you think of the Iranian siege, although I think that was that early 80s. I think that was really early 80s. Then you had Lockerbie, which was 1988, I think it was. Hobbies, like I says, playing computer games. All these things, when I play a certain game, all these things just kind of come back. It was a very, very special time for me. I was ridiculously happy. I had a really happy childhood. Obviously, you were younger. You didn't have any real stress in your life. yeah, real happy time. So that was a great subject, Ox. Thanks for that. Excuse me. Now I've got to say, just somebody, I think this was Dale actually, is the pushing of YouTube Premium going to kill the enthusiast broadcaster and smaller channels? One thing I noticed, and it really it really annoys me. I now notice when you upload a video, it automatically puts adverts at the start and in between and then at the very, very end. Now, previous to that, I would only have an advert at the start which you could skip and then that was it. But now it's forced on you. The only way you can actually take them off, basically what you've got to do is when you upload a video, it'll automatically put adverts in, and when it uploads it in SD, and then eventually it'll what do you call it, configure whatever, I can't think of the right phrase. It'll basically process the video, and then when the video is finished getting processed, you can then go back in and take out the adverts. But the way I kind of work with YouTube, I mean, you've probably seen I've not been doing a lot of videos recently. Just been far too much going on in my life. I don't have time to sit and wait for it to render and then change things. So these adverts that are getting popped in, it's not down to me putting them in. Believe you me, I'll be honest, if it was easy to unmonetize my channel, I would, because I make so little and it just annoys me having these stupid adverts. But yeah, YouTube are really, really pushing things, and I think it's a shame. I think once, if and when there's a rival sort of a platform for uploading content, then I think people will move. I would certainly consider moving. But at the moment, YouTube, I mean, it's free to use. I can't really complain too much about it. It works for me. You know, there's really not much else there. But yeah, unfortunately, it just seems to be growing arms and legs, and it's all about money, 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 money. I mean, I notice, probably because I don't make as many videos, but I notice my subscriber level has remained static for quite a long time. I've really not picked up any new subscribers, maybe a handful in the last couple of months. I mean, I always say to people, you know, you've got to put in to get back. If you're not making content, you can't for the life of me expect, or you can't ever expect people to come and support you. But I do notice my subscriber, it's not dropped, but it's not really increased at all. But it doesn't bother me. It really doesn't bother me. Would you buy a mini console if you couldn't hack it to add more games? I would say no. It depends. It depends what console it is. I mean, I've got all the consoles that I want. I've got for all these consoles, I've got SD cards and what can you have you. So I don't really have any real incentive to go and pick up any of the mini consoles. I mean, I would like to get the PC Engine one, just because the way I look at these mini consoles, people going about them, oh, they're emulation, and you know, it's HD and it doesn't look as good, it's not got scan lines. But the thing is, the original hardware will not last forever. It won't. I mean, I've had my NVIDIA Shield clamshell. I went to use it. I charged it about maybe 2 months ago, and then I went to use it about a month ago. Doesn't work. I tried to drip feed it. I think Dale Boy actually said that to me. I left it plugged in a kind of old charger for about a day and a half. Nothing. I ended up selling it on eBay for 15 quid. However, I did buy a new one I bought a new second hand one because it's a fantastic console. It's still the best handheld console, in my opinion. But yeah, there's not really any console that I really want to buy. I don't know, I don't think, I mean, you're saying there, would you buy a mini console if you couldn't add games? I mean, I bought the C64 one, I bought the mini one. I didn't buy that to add games. As it turns out, you were able to add games, but some of them, they do have, like the Mega Drive one. I've never added games to. I know I can. I've never looked. I don't know how easy it is. If anybody knows how easy it is to add games to the Mega Drive Mini, let me know. I probably will put them on it, because why wouldn't I? What was I talking about? Yeah, the thing about these modern mini consoles, it gives you a way to play these old consoles, but on new TVs you plug it into your HDMI, because that's the thing. You know, TVs now don't have SCART, so you know they don't have RF, they don't have SCART, so it's going to get to a point once all your old TVs. I mean, I've got a couple. I've got the big CRT, Sony CRT there. My plasma there, which is actually 12 years old. I got that in 2007. It's got 3 SCART sockets, 2 or 3 SCART sockets. It's going to get to a stage when these TVs stop working, SCART is not going to exist, and it's going to be HDMI. And I'm no doubt in the next couple of years, whatever, 5 years, they're going to change it again. HDMI is going to get dropped, and it's going to be something else, because that's what they do, because it constantly forces people to buy stuff. But no, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I would, if a console came out that I didn't own and had a good selection of games, I would absolutely buy it. But I would be lying if I said being able to add extra games isn't an incentive, you know. So, and wee Bob is saying here, this is the last one actually, because it's kind of time's wearing on. Watching the Waffle just now, and a question, not a long one, but when I was in my teens, I used to go to my mate's house every weekend, and he had all the latest consoles. What a lucky guy. I mean, most people had one, and if they wanted another one, they had to sell it. So to actually have more than one console, he must have been pretty damn spoiled. We always, and I pretty much mean always, had 2 apple turnovers and a 1.5 litre bottle of Coke each. Yeah, it kind of ticks the box for the, you know, the is it Mountain Dew and Pringles and pizza and all that kind of stuff. It was a bit of a tradition, along with playing Formula 1. Was that Formula 1 on the PlayStation? Because that is the game that I miss the most. Formula 1 on the PlayStation was an amazing game. I remember going into Virgin Megastore in Edinburgh to buy it. Awesome game. I need to dig out my PlayStation and play Formula 1 again. It was a brilliant game. There's not been a Formula 1 game that's come close, in my opinion. Maybe it looks a lot better, but there was just something about it. And Murray Walker doing the commentary. Awesome. Was there any seditions? I don't think so. I mean, I generally used to play video games. I'd always have a cup of coffee. I don't recall food and drink going hand in hand with playing games. Don't know. No, maybe that's just because I was a wee bit older. I was 18, 19, so I was a wee bit more aware about, you know, not wanting to eat shite. So I don't think so, Bob. No, but like I mentioned before, for me, playing on the C64, there was a lot of times I would have background music. Like I said, I'll have Howard Jones on, or Bitty Marillion, whatever. But no, I can't actually recall food ever really kind of being sort of linked, you know, specifically to that. But anyway, listen guys, I'm going to call it a day. Thanks for all these questions. The questions that are in last week's Waffle I will pick up next week, if that makes any sense. This coming week, this Sunday, usual time 7 till 9, I've not actually given it any thought. I'm trying to think. I'll give it some thought. I don't know what the subject's going to be, but there will be a live stream, the usual time, 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Please keep all the support coming, guys. Keep all the questions coming. If you're not on Discord, jump across. It's Mainmeister. A really, really good bunch of people. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, guys. Until next time, thank you very, very much for watching.